G'day, it's Pete here and I'm back for a featured lesson, and today I wanted to talk about signaling. And I wanted to talk about different types of signals there are, how they actually work, and some common misconceptions people have or mistakes that they make thinking that signals are like everything that they have to do on defense. Anyway, first of all, what type of signals are there? Because there are a lot. And I'll talk about all the different ones that they are, and then which ones you have to sort of choose, and then when they actually apply. So first of all, the first common signal is attitude or encouragement. So this is known as either high encourage or natural attitude. They're the two main ones for high encourage. Or otherwise there's low encourage or upside down or reverse attitude, reverse attitude, low encourage. They're the opposite to high encourage, and I'll highlight how they actually work. The second type of signal is count, and again we've got natural count or we've got reverse count, and then we move into suit preference. Now this is the one signal that everyone should be playing, suit preference, and it doesn't mean that you have to play it in every situation, but there are certain situations that you want to play it in. This also goes by the name of McKenney and Leventhal, but basically suit preference is just the clearest name for it. And then I want to talk about a couple of other ones. There's odds and evens, which is a discard mechanic. Then I want to talk about just playing honors. Sometimes you can play an honor in an unusual situation and it can convey information. And the final one I wanted to cover is echo or Smith echo or petering. So they're all the different types of signals that I'm going to cover, and let's just look at how they actually work. So we'll jump in, look at an example. So first of all, if we were playing count, let's just look at a count signal. So I'll give an auction here. Let's have the auction go 1 no trump, pass 3 no trump. Okay. So let's say our partner leads an honor in hearts and we have 10, 8, 7, 2. So to start off with count signals, how do they actually work? If we're playing natural count, what we want to do is we want to play, there's two ways of playing it. You can either play a high heart and then a low heart, or you can switch that around. You can play a low one, then a high one. And the whole purpose of this is to convey how many hearts you actually have. So if you're playing natural count, what you want to do is you want to high then low says you've got an even amount. So if you played, say, the 8 of hearts and then followed it up with the 2 of hearts on the second round, that would say that you have an even amount of hearts. Doesn't mean you've got 4, you've got 2, 4, 6, etc. This is called natural count or standard count. The other way of thinking about it is like, why is it higher than low? So if you only had 2 hearts, and for example, or 2 diamonds like this, you'd play the 5 diamonds and the 3 diamonds. This is the exact same sequence you'd play if you were on lead. So a way of remembering it is if you were playing natural, if you were leading from a doubleton, you'd play the suit in the same way. If you play upside down or reverse count, what you'd do is you'd play a low heart and then a high heart to convey that you've actually got an even amount. So King of Hearts, then the 7 or 8 or 10, that would say that you've got an even amount. So for reverse count or upside down, that's switched around. Now, basically some people play it one way, some people play it another way. There are certain win cases for one way and certain win cases for the other way. They're very, very similar. Basically, people often ask me which sort of signals should I be playing, and lots of the different signals work in different situations, and there's not really this is the type of signaling you should be doing. You should just understand what your signals mean when, and you typically don't just play, I just play one signal and that's all I do. Some people do, but it's good to have a variety and understand when you should be signaling and what you are signaling. So a quick recap, we've just talked about count, reverse count and natural count. So reverse count, low then high says you've got an even amount. Higher than low says you've got an odd amount. In natural count or standard count, higher than low says you've got an even amount. Low than high says you have an odd amount. So if I was instead playing in clubs and I was playing natural count, I would play the 4, then the 7, and I would say I've got an odd amount. Yeah, so that's how they work. You don't play both natural count and reverse count, and you pick one of them. Basically, what the whole purpose of this is to convey to partner how many of the suit you have. And you say, I've either got an odd amount or an even amount, and they're meant to look at the bidding to try and work out how many you've actually got. So count signals, natural count, higher than low, even, reverse count, low than high, even. So the next one we want to look at is attitude, or low encourage or high encourage. Natural attitude is high encourage. Reverse attitude is low encourage. You don't need to remember all these names. I'm just covering it because people often say different names, and it's just important to understand which ones they are, but you don't need to remember the names for all of them. It's not that important. You can learn it slowly. So anyway, low encourage, basically you tell your partner how much you like your suit. So if your partner led hearts and I wanted to discourage, and if I'm playing low encourage, if I wanted to discourage with this heart suit because I don't have any good hearts, I would play a high one. Doesn't necessarily be the highest one. You don't want to signal with something that you think will give a trick away. So if you thought this 10 of hearts was relevant, you wouldn't signal with it. If you thought that the 10 was completely irrelevant, sure, go ahead and signal with it. So if you're playing low encourage, a high one says you don't like it, a low one says you do like it. If you are playing high encourage, natural attitude, it's the reverse. So a low one would say that you don't like it. So this is the way that you can signal it. So that's attitude and count that we've covered so far. The next one that I want to talk about is suit preference. Now this is one signaling method that you should be doing no matter what, and it applies in certain situations. You can discuss in your partnership how many situations you want it to apply in, but one area that you want it to be in is when you're giving your partner a ruff or allowing your partner to trump. So how it works is when you know your partner's led a singleton, you've won and you're returning the suit. You want them to know which suit to continue. And how it works is if you play a low one, it would say I want a lower ranked suit. So if you played the 2, it would say I want a lower ranked suit. If you play a high one, it would say I want a higher ranking suit. It usually excludes the trump suit. Now, suit preference happens a lot more in trumps because the one situation I've listed so far is saying when you give your partner a ruff, you're telling them to which suit to come back in. So you can play a low one to say I like one of the lower suits, a high one to say I like a higher suit, and it excludes the trump suit and it assumes that. So by lower suit, we're just talking about clubs. Higher suit, we're talking about spades, in that sort of order. But we're excluding the suit that partner is showing out in, and we're excluding the trump suit. So usually there's only 2 suits, and you tell them whether you want them to return the higher ranking suit or the lower ranking suit by playing either a low card for the lower one or a high one for the higher one. So that's how suit preference works. You can apply it in lots of different situations, but one situation you definitely should be applying it in is when you're giving your partner a ruff or a trump. So your partner's led a shorted, you've got in, you're letting them trump a suit, and you want to tell them how to get back to your suit. So this is one spot where you definitely should be playing suit preference. Another one is odds and evens, and this is typically only when you're discarding, and people use it typically for just the first discard. So what odds and evens is when you're showing out of a suit, what you do is you discard a card to either say you like the suit or you don't, and if you don't like it, you tell them what suit you prefer. So odds and evens works like this. odd card is encouraging. So if you discard an odd card in a suit, it says, I like this suit. Please play this suit for me. If instead you play an even card, it says, I don't like the suit. And while you're doing it, you tend to give suit preference. And that a low card says you like the lower suit, and a high card says you like the higher suit. So it's a combination of attitude and suit preference by using the rankings of the suits and whether they're odd and even. So that's what you can use for your first discard as well. Some people like to play it in more than that, but typically people that play it will usually only play it for their first discard. The reason being here is you don't always have the right card, and if you play it in lots of situations, you'll find out you don't have the right card more often. Whereas if you're discarding, you have a wide variety of cards to choose from, and therefore it's a bit better as a first discard. Another type of signaling is Smith Echo, which basically applies when you've let in no trumps and the declarer starts playing their first suit. What you can do is you can tell partner whether you liked the suit that was led originally or not. So some people do it either way, just like natural and reverse, you can do it either way, where a low card says, partner, I liked the suit you led, or a high card says, partner, I liked the suit you led. And you can do it either way, and you can just choose in your partnership if you want to do that. And the final one I wanted to talk about is when you throw honors away. Basically, if you're discarding or unnecessarily playing an honor, what it just means is I've got this suit covered from there on down. So if you throw a king, you've got king, queen, jack. If you throw a jack, you've got jack, 10, 9. And it just tells partner, I have this suit, I have a sequence here, I could happily throw this away, just so you know I have this suit locked up and these are my honors. And it locates the honors for them really, really well. So that was a quick rundown of the different types of signals and how they work, what they actually mean. Let's jump in and look at some actual signaling here. So basically, most people pick a combination of attitude and count as their primary signal. So my go-to signaling method would be low encourage and reverse count. So let's just backtrack and look at the auction. So 1 no trump, and then South will bid 2 club Stayman, and 2 diamonds, no 4 card major, 3 no trump. Okay, so some people like to do ace for attitude, king for count, or vice versa, or some people just tend to do attitude on the primary signal, or some people just do count on the first signal. There's lots of different variations that you can do, and what you want to do is discuss with your partner when you do these particular signals. So if your partner is leading, you want to know when do we give which signal. So most people start off and say, maybe we just give low encourage, or maybe we just give reverse count. But what you want to do is come up with when is this relevant, and when should we switch to a different signal. So for example, let's just say that you do ace for attitude, king for count. So you can choose what you want to lead from aces or kings. So here, let's say our partner leads the king of hearts, and we see this in dummy. So if we're playing upside down, we could play the 2 and tell partner we've got an even amount. But what you should do with signaling is it's not the be all end all of defending. It should be the final piece of the puzzle. So don't become over reliant on signaling. Use the other defensive information that you already have. If we look at the bidding, we already know a fair bit about this suit. We know our partner's got at least 5 hearts because declarer denied a 4 card major. So our partner's got long hearts. So declarer's got at least 3. So showing the length of the suit isn't that relevant. But what we want is our partner's got the 5th heart. We want them to be able to get to that, and the 2 could be useful. So we could start with the 7 here. It's not as clear a signal as possible, but if it keeps going, we can then follow with the 8. And on the actual hand, if we just open up all the cards, So let's backtrack to the first one. This really depends on your leading method, what you actually expect. But even if it went ace of hearts, what we have to do is we have to keep this 2 so that we can get to partners 5 on the 4th round. If we waste our 2 trying to signal, then we have thrown away a trick here because we can't get to that heart. Let's say that partner leads the ace of hearts, and if we wanted to encourage, you might play the 2, but we need the 2 to be able to get to partner's hand. It is more important to choose, work out which cards you're happy to play and then choose the best signal that you've got appropriate for it. Don't think of your signal first and then what you should do. Signaling should be the final piece of the puzzle. You can defend a lot of hands without signaling. Signaling is there just to add that little bit of extra information. Many bridge players become lazy in defense because they become over-reliant on signaling. That should be your final thing that you use, and it's just to clear up situations. So here, make sure you don't play the 2 of hearts, because if you do, then you won't be able to get to partner's hearts. So whatever your signaling method is, you want to keep that 2 of hearts. So if you're playing low encourage and you wanted to encourage because you had 4 hearts, not that you should on this hand, because your partner, I would discourage on this anyway, because your partner already knows that you've got long hearts. So if you wanted to encourage, you would play the 7. If you wanted to discourage, you could play the 10. But your partner should realize what's actually going on, because they know that you've got 4 hearts. They don't know how good your hearts are, but they know that you've got at least 4 of them. Make sure you keep the 2. Don't become over-reliant on signals and just think, oh, I need to play this card. But work out which cards you're happy to play, then work out your best signal. This is my approach that I like to do. Okay, let's look at another hand. Okay, pass. So here, let's go 1 diamond, 2 clubs, 2 no trumps, pass, 3 no trumps. Alright, so let's say that partner leads king, and they play ace for attitude, king for count. Again, I'm not saying this is the way that you actually have to do it. You can do it in whatever ways you want to agree. So if we're playing low encourage and reverse count, so here partner led a heart, and we can tell them how many we've got. Now, this 10 almost certainly won't be useful, so we can play the 10 to say that we have an odd amount. Reverse count, higher than low, says we've got an odd amount. And now another heart, and another heart. Okay, so at this stage, on your first discard, you would typically do low encourage if that was your methods. Again, you can agree any of the signals that we discussed before. So what should you actually signal here? So we could try the 8 of spades, saying we dislike spades. We could try the 7 of diamonds, saying we like diamonds. Both of these might be hard for partner to read. So if we discard the 7 of diamonds, it doesn't look like a low card. You don't need to worry too much about what it looks like to your partner, but you want to try and do the best. First, you work out which suits you're happy to discard from, and then try and come up with the best signal possible. Here, I'm happy to discard in spades, clubs, or diamonds. I just want partner to be able to work out to play a diamond here. So if I discard the 8 of spades, saying I don't like spades, they'll probably play a diamond. If I discard the 7 of diamonds, saying I like diamonds, it's harder for them to read. They don't know exactly what's going, so I don't like the 7 of diamonds as a discard. Discarding a club won't really convey much information to my partner, because obviously I don't like clubs on this hand. So they're my 3 signaling choices. But if you wanted to make it abundantly clear to your partner, and you're only playing, you're not playing match points, you could discard the ace of diamonds. This would be the clearest signal you could make to partner to get them to play a diamond. Now, obviously, this throws a trick away, but you're beating 3 no trumps all the time, and partner won't mistake what your signal actually is. You don't need to tend to think of it in terms of 7s and 8s are high or low. Usually you'll want to work out which suits you're happy to discard from, then make the most accurate signal you can. So here, my two choices would be between discarding the 8 of spades, saying I don't like it, and this is at match points the signal I would make. Whereas at teams, I really want my partner to play a diamond, so I would consider throwing the ace of diamonds away. Because if they look at the bidding, their natural instinct would be to play a spade anyway. They might not be able to tell necessarily that my 8 is high, because my 7 is low in diamonds, my 8 is high in spades. It's hard for them to read which situation is which all the time. So 8 of spades would be the discard I'd make if I wanted to try and beat this contract 2 tricks. If I just wanted to guarantee that I was beating the contract, I would throw away the ace of diamonds. I wouldn't do this at match points, but at teams, if I really wanted partner to switch to that, this is the clearest card I can make. Obviously it does throw a trick away, but the 8 of spades might be harder to read. And sometimes you might get situations where you've got 5, 4, 3, 2 of spades, and ace, king, 8, 7 of diamonds, and you're like, well, the 5 of spades is starting to look quite low as my discouraging signal, and the 7 of diamonds is looking quite high as my encouraging signal, and neither of them are going to work too well. And then you might choose to try and the ace of diamonds play. Here your spades are probably high enough that you'll get the diamond play by playing the 8 of spades, discouraging. Here it goes pass, pass, 1 heart, pass 2 hearts, pass 4 hearts. Okay, and we've got ace, king, 5th diamonds, so we could lead the ace of diamonds here. And this would ask for low encourage. So if it goes here and our partner plays the 3, we've got some choices here. If partner plays the 3 of diamonds, that would typically say they like diamonds, in which case we can play king of diamonds, and here we don't know what's going on. Our partner played the 3 then the 10. They may have the queen, or they may have a doubleton. So when you're signaling low encourage, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have an honor in the suit. It just says I want it continued. I think it's a good idea. And again, it's not you must continue this suit. If our partner had just a doubleton, they could continue encourage because they want us to give them a ruff. So if that's the case, we can then return another diamond, and on this case our partner ruffed, but there was no guarantee. They would also encourage with a low diamond as well. A way of solving it maybe better would be asking for a count signal, but that only depends, like we don't know what we're going to come down in dummy. So if you do ace for attitude, king for count, you could choose to lead the king, and here if we get the 3, now we know our partner has an even amount of diamonds. If we're playing reverse count, where low than high is even, we don't know if declarer's got a singleton or 3, but either way we can cash the ace of diamonds. And now when we see this signal, we know that our partner's got a doubleton diamond, and we can give them a ruff with certainty. So trying to work out which signal you actually want is a difficult challenge. You don't always know which one you want before you see the dummy, which makes it a bit difficult, but you want to know what you're signaling on these cards. So there are a couple of ways that you can solve this. Firstly, if you play ace for attitude, king for count, you can choose either one you want. If your partner had a doubleton and you led an ace, they should probably signal encouraging even with a doubleton because they want you to give them a ruff. The encouraging signal doesn't promise an honor in it, so that's just another little caveat to how signaling actually works. So here, there were just a few different examples. So we covered lots of different types of signals. We looked at attitude, count, suit preference, Smith Echo, and odds and evens, where I talked about how they work briefly. Didn't give examples of all of them. Then also about playing honors. Sometimes you can discard an honor to say, partner, I really like this suit. How they work, quick recap. I'll just talk about reverse signals this time, but if it's natural, it's just flipped around. So reverse attitude or low encourage means low card you like it, high card you don't. Reverse count is low card you have an even amount followed by a high card, whereas if you play a high card then a low card you have an odd amount. Suit preference, you typically only do natural suit preference. Some people do switch it around, but there's absolutely no, like, most situations have a chance of having a winning case there. Most people that play reverse suit preference just do it just to confuse people, which I don't like the idea of it. So with suit preference, usually it just says a high suit says I like a higher ranking suit, a low suit says I like a lower ranking suit. Smith Echo was a way of conveying to partner whether you liked the suit they originally led when playing in no trumps. Odds and evens combines attitude with suit preference, where odd cards say you like the suit, even cards are suit preference. Then playing honors, if you discard an honor, it says I have all the cards below it, please play me for this card. So they are how they actually, all the different signals that we covered, how they actually worked. My main theory is don't become over-reliant on signals. What you want to do is have them be the final part of the defense. You want to choose the suit that you're happily going to discard from, or work out which cards you can throw away, then work out the best signal you can use amongst those different suits. And finally, make sure that's just the final piece of the puzzle for defense. Don't forget all the other tips for defense, so make sure you keep working on that. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed this lesson on defense, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.